Hello guys, welcome to the session. The problem which we'll be solving today is crazy ring area. Okay, so this problem has a lengthy problem statement, but however, if you are comfortable with maths, and I mean your school mathematics, if you have studied maths properly during your 11th and 12th standard, I guess you will be comfortable with this question. Okay, take a look at the question, only then you'll understand why I say that. Read the question line by line. As you read the question, I expect you to have a notebook and pen with you. Okay, this is pure problem solving only. There is no advanced concept involved here. Okay, there is no concept of stack or queue or backtracking, algorithms, arrays. Nothing is involved here. Purely your thinking skill is going to be checked. Okay, look at the question. Scientists have found a strange substance having strange properties. Yes, there is one triangular substance called strange triangle which has a property that if it is placed inside a circle, if that triangle is placed inside a circle, then it expands until all the corners of the triangle are touching the circle. Clear? When you place this triangle inside a circle, the triangle will expand such that all corners of the triangle are touching the circle. Okay, take a look at the picture now. Strange triangle means inside a circle we will place a triangle. Okay, so this blue colored triangle is our strange triangle. What will this triangle do? It will expand so that all of its corners, how many corners? Three corners, 1, 2 and 3 corners. All the 3 corners will meet the circle. It should touch the circumference of the circle. So circle will not change, but triangle will be like this. Clear? Triangle has expanded. It should not cross the circle. The corners of the triangle will be lying on the circle. Can you see that? The corner, first corner, second corner and third corner. All 3 corners are lying on the circle. This is a strange triangle. Now read the next line. There is another circular substance called strange circle. So similar to a strange triangle, now we are dealing with strange circle. So what will this strange circle do? Which when placed inside any polygon, if you place it inside a polygon, it expands such that it becomes the largest possible circle which can fit inside the polygon. Okay, similar to a triangle, the circle will also expand. When will it stop? When it becomes the largest possible circle. So will it go out of the polygon? Will the boundaries be beyond the polygon? No, such that it touches every side of the polygon. That is important. Okay, the circle will keep expanding until it touches every side of the polygon. So, by the term polygon, I may be referring to a square or a rectangle or a pentagon or a hexagon or a triangle. Yes, anything with multiple edges is called a polygon. So, let me consider triangle. Okay, so say we have a normal triangle. Within this triangle, I am placing this strange circle. This yellow colored circle is a strange circle. So what will the circle do? Once you place it inside the triangle, it will not stay in the same shape. It will expand so that it can meet all the 3 sides of the triangle. Okay. So triangle will be the same, but circle would be expanded. Can you see that? It is touching all the 3 sides of the triangle. Clear? Yes, so this is the definition of a strange circle. So far we have learnt about 2 categories. One is strange triangle, the other is strange circle. Now, how do they use this concept of strange triangle and strange circle in our problem. Let us look at it. Now, researchers did a strange experiment. They placed a strange triangle inside a normal circle. Look at it. Triangle is placed inside a normal circle. Which triangle? Strange triangle is placed inside a normal circle and then placed a strange circle inside this strange triangle. Okay, we will do one line at a time. Look at it. Strange triangle is placed inside a normal circle, which means we have a normal circle. Inside this normal circle, strange triangle is placed. Okay. So what happens when a strange triangle is placed? Automatically, the triangle will expand so that all the three corners we have one corner, two corners, and three corners, right? It will expand such that all three corners will touch the circle, which means circle will not change, but triangle would have expanded. Clear? So within a normal circle, we have a strange triangle. This is the first part of the line. Now, in the same line they are telling us, they placed a strange triangle inside a normal circle. We have done this part. Strange triangle inside a normal circle is done. Now what are they telling us? And then placed a strange circle inside this strange triangle. So within this strange triangle, we are placing a circle. Okay. So we have the triangle. Within this triangle, we are going to place a strange circle. Alright. So what will this circle do? We know that a strange circle will expand so that it can touch all the sides of a triangle. Right. So the normal circle and triangle will be the same, but strange circle will expand. Can you see that? Strange circle has expanded so that it touches all three sides of a triangle. This is the problem statement. We have a normal circle, we have a strange triangle, and we have a strange circle. This red colored part is a strange circle. Alright. Why do we need all this? Look at it. Thus, the ring formed by the two circles. Thus, the ring formed by the two circles. What are the two circles we have in our diagram? We have a normal outer circle and inner strange circle. We have these two circles. A normal outer circle and inner strange circle is named as crazy ring. So, the crazy ring is nothing but in our diagram, we have a normal outer circle and a strange inner circle. This red colored circle is a strange circle, right? These two will form a ring. Okay, when I consider these two, imagine this diagram without the triangle because we are speaking about the two circles only. So imagine this diagram without the triangle. Your diagram will be like this. Am I right? Same thing but without the triangle. Now what can you see? We can see that a ring shape is formed here. Am I right? Yes. The red colored part is covered by the blue colored part, which is nothing but a ring. Okay. So this part, which part? The blue colored part is called as a crazy ring. Okay. I'm not speaking about the entire circle. Eliminate the red colored region. The blue colored region forms a ring. That ring is what we call as crazy ring. Clear? Okay. So what are we provided with? We are provided with the coordinates of the strange triangle on the coordinate plane and you have to calculate area of the crazy ring. We know which part is the crazy ring. Now we should calculate area of this crazy ring. Okay. So print not possible if the ring is not possible to form. Okay, so we'll come back to this not possible part, but before that focus on the important point. You will be provided with coordinates of the strange triangle. What do they mean by coordinate? You will have a x coordinate followed by a y coordinate. Okay, and you have to calculate area of the crazy ring, which means in our data, this is our diagram. In this diagram, we are provided with coordinates of the triangle. So the triangle has 3 points. Point 1 at the top. Let me name it as x1 comma y1. Okay. Now point 2 here. Let me name this as x2 comma y2. And point 3. Let me name it as x3 comma y3. Guys, assume the circle is touching. Sorry about that. Okay. So this will be your input. x1 y1, x2 y2 and x3 y3 shall be given as input for us. What are we supposed to calculate? We should calculate area of the crazy ring. We are going to calculate area of the crazy ring. Now, generally, without assume you have the data as required. How will I calculate area of the ring? Focus on the ring alone. So, just to show you how the ring is, I have removed the color here. Okay, this blue colored part is our ring. Okay, how will you calculate area of this ring? Area of crazy ring. Basic max, guys. I have two circles, inner circle and outer circle. I need to know part of the ring, area of the ring alone. So how can we calculate area of this ring alone? Think about it. Simple max, which is nothing but this part alone. Formula is going to be area of the outer circle. Yes, this circle is our outer circle. From the total area, subtract area of inner circle. Okay, total area of outer circle minus total area of inner circle. When you subtract these two areas, we will be left out with the remaining area, which is nothing but the area of the ring. Okay, so our ultimate aim is we need the area of outer circle and we need the area of inner circle. Once we get that, we will be able to find out the final answer. All right, so this is the problem. I hope the problem is clear. Yes, so you'll be given the coordinates of triangle. From the triangle we should calculate area of both the circles. How do we do that? What formula should we use? We'll discuss as we proceed. Till this point, ensure that problem statement is clear. Okay, now let us focus on how our input is going to be. Input contains, first line contains two space delimited numbers n1, m1. N1 and m1 can be negative. Second line contains n2, m2. Third line contains n3, m3. So what is this n and m? It is nothing but x and y coordinates of 3 points representing the strange triangle. We know that coordinates of strange triangle is going to be the input. Yes, so they are representing x and y coordinate as n1 m1, n2 m2, n3 m3. So what we'll do is, for simplification, we'll use it as x and y itself. All right, so in our program, first I'm going to get the values of x and y for all the 3 points. Okay, yes, look at the coding part. Okay, so we are going to have x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3. Okay, these can be negative values also, but did they specify x1, y1, x2, y2 will be integers? Is it specified anywhere? Two space delimited numbers, but it is not said as integers. So take a look at our sample input now. In our sample input, x1, y1 are integers, x2, y2 are integers, but x3 is an integer whereas y3 is a float value. Can you see that? y3 is a float value. Since y3 is a float value, you can't use integer data types. We have to go with float data type, but we know that float does not have a good level of accuracy. So instead of using float, I'm going to go with double. Okay. Since double has higher accuracy, let's go with double. Scan the values first. Two double values. First is x1, second is y1. Okay. Instead of n1 and m1, I'm using x1, y1, x2, y2, and x3, y3. So now input is done. What about the output? Look at the output format. Output the area of crazy ring up to 2 decimal places. However, calculations are to be performed up to a precision of 11 decimal places. Okay. Area should be printed up to 2 decimal places. But when you calculate them, consider precision of 11 decimal places, or print not possible if it is not possible to form the ring. Okay. So if it is possible, print the area for 2 decimal places. Otherwise, print not possible. Okay. So if possible, how do I check whether it is possible? We'll come back to that. If it is possible, calculate the area. Okay, calculate the area of crazy ring and print that area. If possible, calculate. We'll come back to the calculation part. But once you know it is possible, print the area with 2-digit precision. So 0.2 LF if it is possible. If it is not possible, print it as not possible. So this is the input and output I have so far. We have obtained the input. If possible, do the calculation and get the area. If it is not possible, print not possible. That's it. Alright. So calculation part is remaining here. How do I calculate the area? How do we calculate the area? If you recollect it, we said we have two circles. If we need the area of the ring, what should we do? Consider area of outer circle, subtract area of inner circle. This is what we discussed already, right? So now we are going to implement this. We are going to find it. What should be found? Area of outer circle and area of inner circle. If I have it, problem is done, which means we should calculate the area. How do we calculate area of these circles? What is the formula for area of a circle? Pi r square. Yes, pi into r into r. In this, we know that value of pi. What is the value of pi? Value of pi is 3.14. That is not the issue. Which one is the issue? Getting the radius of the circle. Only when we have the radius, we will be able to proceed, right? Once I have the radius, problem is completed. So to calculate area, we need the radius. Clear? Okay. So to calculate the area, only parameter required is radius of the circle. So let us focus on getting the radius of the circle. Yes. First, we need to understand a few things about a triangle. Before we move into the circle part, let us understand some basics about a triangle. Okay. Important formulas related to a triangle. So we have a triangle and we know the coordinates of the triangle. What are the coordinates? X1, Y1, X2, Y2, X3, Y3. Right? So let us say this side is referred as A. Okay? This side is referred as A. Next side is referred as B. And next side has a length C. Okay. A, B and C are nothing but length values. If you have known this already, well and good. Otherwise, remember this now. How will you get the value of A? A is nothing but distance between the points x1, y1 and the point x2, y2, right? So I need to know the distance between x1, y1 and x2, y2 to get the value of A. How will you calculate the distance between 2 points? To calculate distance between 2 points, that is, to calculate the value of A, formula is x2 minus x1 the whole square plus y2 minus y1 the whole square root of. Clear? Okay. So when you are supposed to calculate the length of A, we need the length of A. To get the length of A, do it as square root of x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. Okay. So I need the value of A. How can I get the value of A? Square root sqrt of x2 minus x1 squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it as a macro. I guess we all will be comfortable with macros. Okay. So square a number. How will you square a number? Number into number. Okay. For squaring a number, just use it as number into number. So square is written as a macro. I'm not having it as a function or doing it inside main. For simplification, have it as a macro. Okay. So square root of square of x2 minus x1 plus square of y2 minus y1. Hope I made it clear. Okay. To calculate the value of A, square root of x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. To calculate square, I have the macro num into num will give us the square. Alright. And if you are going to use this sqrt function, to use sqrt function, which header file is needed? Math.h header file is needed. Use math.h. Alright. Next. Along with A, I need the length of B also. Okay. Along with A, we need the length of B. How can I calculate length of B? B is between the points x3, y3 and x2, y2. Okay. So use the same formula. Substitute those points. Substitute the points x2, x3 and y2, y3. Okay. So let us calculate B value. Square of which two values? x2, x3 plus square of y2, y3. We need all these values, guys, which is why as soon as we see the formula, I'm writing it in the programming part also. Okay. So next, C can be calculated in the similar way. C is between x3, y3 and x1, y1. So to calculate the distance, use the point x3, y3 and x1, y1. Okay. So square of use x3, x1 and y3, y1. Okay. So I have the length of three sides of the triangle. Alright. So this is one thing we will need. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Apart from this, other data which we'll need is perimeter of a triangle. I think you can understand the term perimeter. Perimeter is nothing but the boundary. Yes. What is the perimeter of the triangle? One side is length A, other side is B, other side is C. So overall perimeter is A plus B plus C. Okay. So what is going to be semi-perimeter of the triangle? Semi-perimeter, as the name indicates, semi-perimeter is nothing but half of the original perimeter. Semi-perimeter is nothing but half of original perimeter. So if you substitute it, your value formula will be A plus B plus C divided by 2. That is semi-perimeter indicated as S. Okay. Semi-perimeter is indicated as S. How do you calculate that? A plus B plus C divided by 2. let me add the formula here. Semi-perimeter, yes. So A plus B plus C divided by 2. Okay. Next, I'm going to need area of this triangle. So when you need to calculate area of the triangle, what is the data we have? We have the length of three sides. We have the side A, side B and side C. When you have the length of three sides, area of a triangle is square root of S into S minus A into S minus B into S minus C. At the beginning of the session itself, I told you to solve this problem, you should be comfortable with mathematics. Okay. So even if you don't know, that's okay guys. There are a few topic in maths which are asked frequently in coding. One of them is this topic. This deals with mensuration and geometry. Everything comes here. And other topics which are frequently asked are combinations, probability, sometimes permutation also. Yes. So it is like to clear a coding exam, it is not just coding knowledge you need. You should learn coding knowledge. I'm not telling you learn quants alone or learn coding alone. Okay. Improve your coding skills. You have to improve your coding skills, and at the same time you should work on maths also. By maths I mean aptitude maths, the quantitative aptitude. Okay, most of the cases we will need that, because when you use those quantitative aptitude, problem will be very simplified. If you don't use them, problem is going to be a little complicated for all of us. All right, so here this is the formula for area of a triangle. What is the formula for area of a triangle? Square root of S into, what is this S? The semi perimeter which we calculated here. Okay, so S into S minus A, S minus B, S minus C, multiply everything and take the square root. Okay, so area of the triangle is capital A. Area of the triangle is capital A. Okay, so A is equal to square root of S into S minus A into S minus B into S minus C. So this is the formula related to triangle. We have 5 essential formulas. I have those 5 formulas here. Okay. Calculate the length of all the three sides. S is nothing but semi-perimeter. A is nothing but area of the triangle. But when I started the problem, when we started solving the problem, we discussed that we don't need anything about the triangle. All that we need is radius of the two circles. Do you remember? When we discussed, we said to calculate area, only parameter required is radius of the circle. You need the radius of the circle only. We have two circles here, which means our focus should entirely be on those two circles only. But here throughout the solution part, I've been talking about triangles. I have 5 formulas for triangles and I used all the 5 formulas. Why did I do that? When we need a circle, why would I go and calculate for the triangle? Think about it. We do that because both the circles are connected because of this triangle. Am I right? This circle expanded according to the triangle. Triangle expanded according to the outer circle, which means the triangle is the connecting part for both the circles. Both the circle radius is dependent on the triangle only, right? The triangle has expanded according to the outer circle and inner circle has expanded according to the triangle, which means directly or indirectly the radius of both the circles is purely dependent on the triangle. So to calculate the radius of the circle, you need to know a few essentials about the triangle. Those are these essentials. Okay, length of all three sides, semi-perimeter and area. Now you understand why we need these values, right? Circles are connected to each other because of the triangle only. Yes, either directly or indirectly, both have some connection to the triangle, which is why to work with the circles, first we need to know everything about the triangle. Now, based on the triangle, we are going to derive the data for the circle. Okay, how can I derive the data for the circle? Yes, so okay. So we have read all the important formulas related to a triangle. So after this triangle, I should focus on the two circles, right? The outer circle and the inner circle. There is a precise mathematical term for these. There is a precise mathematical term for these two triangles, which is what we call as inscribed circle. Some of you may be familiar with this, some of you may not be. So just a quick overview on what is an inscribed circle. Okay, see, inscribed circle is the circle is the largest circle that can be inscribed in a triangle. Inscribed as in it can be drawn in a triangle such that it touches all sides of the triangle. Okay. When I say the term inscribed circle, this is how we have to imagine it. Now I hope this sounds familiar. This seems familiar because this is what we have been dealing throughout the problem, right? We have a outer triangle. Within that triangle, the strange circle expanded. It expands such that it will touch all the three sides of the triangle. Correct? It has touched all three sides of a triangle. This circle is called as a inscribed circle. This is nothing but largest circle that can be inscribed in a triangle that touches all sides of the triangle. Clear? This is supposed to touch all sides of the triangle. This is an existing mathematical concept. It is not something that I introduced on my own. Okay. So how is this circle going to help us? What do we need? We need to calculate radius of this circle. That is what is essential. Yes, so to calculate radius of inscribed circle or in circle, use the formula area of triangle divided by semi perimeter of triangle. Okay, when you need the area, sorry, when you need the radius of the circle, use the formula area of triangle. Look at it. Circle is dependent on the triangle, which is why I needed all those values for a triangle. Okay. So radius of the circle is area divided by semi-perimeter, which is A divided by S. A is nothing but area. S is nothing but semi-perimeter. Okay. So radius of in circle, I'll have it as r underscore in. Radius of in circle. How do we calculate radius of in circle? Area of the triangle divided by semi-perimeter of the triangle. Okay. So far I have this. Now next one. Similar to the concept of inscribed circle, there is another concept. Don't name it as outscribed circle. It is called circumscribed circle. Okay. Out circle is different, guys. There is also a concept called as out circle, but that is not what we are using here. We are using the concept of circumscribed circle. Circum, as the name indicates, circumference. Have we used this term circumference? So circumscribed circle is nothing but the circle will pass through all vertices of a triangle. Okay, the circle will pass through all the vertices. So if you have a triangle, the circle will pass through all the vertices. Does it seem familiar? Yes, when we started the problem, we had two circles. Now you can understand what are those two circles. The red colored circle was the inscribed circle, and this outer blue colored circle is nothing but the circumscribed circle. Clear? So these are the two circles which we have. So now I already know how to calculate the radius of inscribed circle. Now we should know how to calculate the radius of circumscribed circle. Okay. How can we calculate the radius of circumscribed circle? The radius is calculated using the formula product of length of sides divided by 4 into area of triangle. Again, existing formula, not something that I introduced. Okay. Product of length of sides. What are the sides? A, B and C. Yes. So multiply these three values. That will be the numerator. Product of length of sides divided by 4 into area of the triangle. 4 into area A. Okay. So that will be your formula. A into B into C divided by 4 into area of the circle. Okay. So yes. Radius of outer circle. Radius of outer circle is A into B into C divided by 4 into A. A into B into C divided by 4 into A. So now we have the radius. Once we have the radius, we can calculate the area. Area of inner circle and area of outer circle. Okay. So what is the area of inner circle? For any circle, the area formula is pi r squared. So 3.14 into inner circle radius. Yes. To calculate the area of inner circle, pi into radius of inner circle into radius of inner circle. Similarly, area of outer circle is 3.14 into radius of outer circle into radius of outer circle. So now we have area of outer circle and we have area of inner circle. So area of crazy ring. How will you calculate area of crazy ring? It is nothing but area of outer circle minus area of inner circle. Clear? Outer circle minus inner circle will give us the final area value. So this is the calculation we have done here. First, calculate all values related to the triangle. From the triangle, get the radius of inner circle, find its area. Get the radius of outer circle, find its area. So once you know the area of outer circle and the area of inner circle, we can calculate the overall area. How can we calculate overall area? Area of outer circle minus area of inner circle. Finally, print that value. Okay. So almost entire program is completed except one part. What did we say? Only when it is possible to form such rings, you can do the calculation. There are scenarios where this is not possible at all. You may have scenarios like that. So what is that scenario? In which case will we have that this is totally impossible? What are such scenarios? Um, See, for example, let me consider 3 points. Consider the points 0, 0, 0, 0, 2, 2 and 5, 5. Okay, there is a chance that this will be our input. Okay, so if you imagine these 3 points in a graph 0, 0, 2, 2 and 5, 5, when you imagine them in a graph, these 3 points will form a straight line, obviously, right? Starting from the origin, go to 2, 2, then go to 5, 5. These 3 points cannot form a triangle at all. These are the cases where output should be not possible. So we need to check whether given inputs are capable of forming a triangle? That is a main question here. Yes, so I will give you 3 points. You can't just say that all 3 points will form a triangle, so you will have a crazy ring all the time. No, that is not the logic. You need to check whether given inputs can form a triangle. How will we check that? How will I know whether inputs can form a? So we are going to analyze the case where our output will become not possible. Okay. So when a triangle is, when the points are invalid, only then the output should be not possible, right? So how will you know whether 3 points or three distances can form a triangle? Basic property: for any triangle, sum of two sides should be greater than the third side. We all would have come to this formula at any point of our time. Yes, so sum of two sides should be greater than third side. So we have three sides. What are the three sides? A, B and C. So according to this formula, A plus B should be greater than C, and B plus C should be greater than A, and C plus A should be greater than B, right? Sum of any two sides must be greater than third side. Okay. If this condition fails, if this condition fails, that is the case where we have to give the output as it is not a triangle. So automatically it means not possible to have a crazy ring. If you don't have a triangle, you will not have a crazy ring. Alright. So check whether the points are capable of forming a triangle. If it forms, okay, proceed. Otherwise, print it as not possible. So when can I say that it will form a triangle? Okay. In our coding part, we can say it is possible if, to say whether it is possible, we need A, B and C value, right? To say whether it is possible, I need these values. So initially calculate these values. Not gonna do it within the if condition part. To go into that if condition, we need A, B and C value, right? So first calculate A, B, C values. Alright. First get A, B, C. Check whether A plus B greater than C and B plus C greater than A and C plus A greater than B. If this is true, then you have a triangle. If you have a triangle, it will definitely lead us to a crazy ring. Yes. So calculate radius of inner circle, outer circle and print the area of the crazy ring. Otherwise, print the output as not possible. Alright. So I guess this is it. Let me compile and check. Okay, double x2 previously. Okay, in the declaration part, x1, y1, x2, y2, this is supposed to be x3, y3. Sorry about that. Is there any other error that we have here? All problems are related to x2. S was not declared in the scope. Okay, we have used a lowercase s. Semi-perimeter is a lowercase s. So I've used a lowercase s here. If we have any other errors related to variables, we can clear them. Not an issue. Okay. Yes, look at the output. I needed 17.91. I have it as 17.90. There is a minute variation here because as we coded along, we used the formula for area as pi r squared and I substituted the value of pi as 3.14. Guys, you will not have the problem of converting from integer to double, double to integer, typecast issues. All those are not possible here because everything is double only. We are not having any data type as integer. So that is not the problem for us. Where do we have the issue? By using 3.14, I've made the issue. Okay. if you have read the question properly, in the question they told us, okay, yes, here. Calculations are to be performed to a precision of 11 decimal places. When you perform calculation, consider 11 decimal places. But here, I have considered only 2 decimal places. This is where the fault has happened. Okay. So, if you know the value of pi, if you know the expansion of pi for 3.14, what are the digits that should follow? If you know that, substitute them. If you don't know that, substitute 22 by 7. 22 by 7 into this value. Similarly here, 22 by 7. That's it. Substitute 22 by 7, and also 22 and 7 are integers. When you divide two integers, your answer will be an integer, but we need a float value here. So divide by 7.0 on both the cases. So these are the points where we will make some mistakes, guys. So if you divide two integers, your answer will be an integer. We don't need an integer here. We don't need 3 alone. We need it along with the float part. So have it as 22 by 7.0. So now let me compile this. Yes, sample cases passed. Okay. So, okay, program is fine and everything, all right. The problem here is using the sqrt function. Yes, most of the cases you will not be allowed to use any inbuilt function, which is why when I develop a program, mostly I will avoid using inbuilt function, because once you get adapted to the use of inbuilt function, you will not be able to create logics on your own. For example, we all know that sqrt function is used. Yes, most of us would not know how this sqrt function is actually implemented. So by chance, if I tell you don't use this sqrt, don't include math.h, you are not permitted to include math.h. When I bring a situation like this, you will not be able to handle the program, right? Because without sqrt we have never dealt a problem, so we have no idea how to implement sqrt, and this has happened a few times. You are not allowed to use sqrt function in few of the tests, which is why in this problem we are going to implement our own square root function. This is a most important point, because many times just because sqrt is not allowed, you will not be able to pass the test cases. So understand how to implement our own square root function. All right, in this problem, input for sqrt is going to be a double value, right? Because all variables are double, which means input is going to be double num, and it will return the square root, which is also a double value. Clear? So now let us learn how to implement this square root function. Okay. So to understand that, there is a simple algorithm, guys. But before I do that algorithm, you should know why I'm using that algorithm. Which means first I'll tell you the simplest way for calculating square root. As I code it, you yourself will find that method is not going to be efficient. Okay. So then I'll tell you what is the best way for doing this square root process. Yes. So we are going to learn to implement square root function. This is really important. It is required for so many questions. So next we are going to focus on finding the square root of a number. All right. So generally, guys, when you're not sure about what to do, use a naive method to find the square root of a number. What can we do? We can square each number and check whether square is equal to the input number. For this problem, I'm going to work with the number 17. Okay. So first let us see what is the square root of 17. Okay, so the square root of 17 is 4.1231056 and it goes on. Alright, so first I'm going to find the square root of 17. To find the square root of 17, square each number and check whether the square is equal to the input number. We'll do this first. Okay, so if your input number is 17, when num value is 17, start with 1. 1 square is 1. 1 square is 1. It is not equal to 17. 2 square is 4, not equal to 17. 3 square is 9, not 17. 4 square is 16, not equal to 17. 5 square is 25. Now this is not equal to 17, but I can say proceeding beyond this point is a waste of time because I have my square value as 25. If I try to go beyond this point, my answer will be more than 17 only. So when I reach 25, I can conclude that square root of 17 is 4 point something. Okay, 4 point some value. Since 4 square is 16 and 5 square is 25, I can conclude that square root of 17 is 4 point something. So let us code it till this point and see how to get it with precision also. Alright, so here to get the square root, let me have a function named as square root. Let me show you how to do it, guys. Then we'll move into our original code. Okay. So here we are going to print square root of 70. Square root of 70. Okay. So when I try to find the root, I'll start from 1. Okay. Root will start from 1. Check whether square value is less than or equal to the original number. Check whether square it 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square like that. Square each value. If it is less than or equal to num, go to the next value. Empty for loop. I've added a semicolon to the end. Okay. So what we'll do here is we will check 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square. So for 17 we will stop at 5 square. For 17 we will stop at 5 square. Even for the number 16. For the number 16 also 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square. Here the values are equal. Even though they are equal, we are continuing with the loop. Less than or equal to. Even if it is equal, we will go to the next root. So we will stop at 25 only. Okay. For 17 as well as for 16, we will stop at 5. But for both of them, square root is 4 point something only. For 16 it is 4.0. For 17 it is 4.123. Right. So for both of them square root is 4 point something, but we have stopped at 5. So when you return it, return root minus 1. Okay, return root minus 1. So for 17 we shall get the integer part alone. What is the integer part? For 17 the integer part is 4. I have the integer part here. Okay, similarly for 16. For 16 also we will get the integer part alone. We get it as 4. But we don't need only the integer part. We need it along with precision, along with the float value, the decimal value also, right? So one idea is instead of having root as integer, have root as double and increment the value. But think about it, accuracy for that will be very very poor. Will you add plus zero point 0.1 or 0.01 or 0.001 or 0.0001 how will you add it, which value will you add, everything is going to be a confusion. Okay, so to avoid that confusion, what we are going to do is, see, okay, square root of 1 is 1 itself, right? Square root of 100 is 10. Square root of 10,000 is 100. And square root of, if I proceed, square root of 1 followed by 6 zeros is 1000. Okay. Now, what do you observe? Square root of some number is equal to a root value. Square root of some number is equal to a root value. Now, I have my value as 17. Sorry. Yes, I have the number as 17 and I have the root as 4. But I need the root as 4.123. Clear? That is the calculated value, right? For 17, I need the root as 4.123. So what I'm going to do is, instead of getting this 4.123, we will try to get it as 4123. Instead of 4.123, we will try to get it as 4123. Because I'm not going to work with float values, since it is going to lead to some complications with increment. Alright. Since I can't just increment it directly, instead of float values, I'll work with integer. So without getting this 4.123, I'm going to focus on getting this 4123, which means actual root value is multiplied with 1000. Am I correct? Actual root value is multiplied with 1000. If actual root value should be multiplied with 1000, then original number should be multiplied with 1000 into 1000. Okay, the root value is multiplied with 1000. So on the left hand side, add 6 zeros. Only then in the right hand side, it will increase by 3 zeros. Do you understand? See, that is why I wrote this. If I should have 1 extra zeros, left side I need to have 2 extra zeros. If you should have 2 zeros, left side initially you should have 4 zeros. For 3 zeros on the left side we should have 6 zeros. Similarly, in this algorithm, if I should increase the decimal places by 3, original number should be multiplied by 1000 into 1000. Okay, so when you receive a number, multiply that number by 1000 into 1000, so that the digits will be increased. Now let me work it for the same number 17. Take a look at your output. We get the output as 4123. Can you understand? Yes, I needed 4.123. Now I can't directly get 4.123. So I'm trying to get it as 4123. Now I know how to get 4123. From this 4123, we can derive 4.123. Am I right? From this 4123, we can derive 4.123. How to do that? Divided by 1000.0, print it as percentage F. Okay, whatever value you receive, we multiplied 1000 into 1000. So to the final answer, divide by 1000 and print your answer. Okay, now if you take a look at the output, we will get it as 4.123000. So this algorithm works. Of course, I'm not denying it. If you give an input, this will definitely give you the square root. But as you look at it, you can understand that this is a very, very time consuming process. For a smaller number 17, we are increasing 6 zeros and executing till I get that square value. So a minimum of 4000 executions has happened for the number 17. That too for a 3-digit accuracy. In our program, if you remember, in our question they said work with 11 decimal places. Calculations should be done with 11 decimal places. If you need 11 decimal places, For 3 places, I multiplied with 3 zeros and 3 zeros. Which means for 11 places, should I multiply it with 11 zeros? Does it make sense? Obviously, no. We are complicating the problem more and more. If I have a bigger number, even if I have a 5-digit number, execution time is going to be very, very lengthy. Which is why we are moving on into a efficient algorithm. Okay. First step, we squared each number. Next step, we obtained precision by multiplying by power of 10. Yes, I multiplied by 1000 into 1000. Both the methods are inefficient. This will work for smaller programs with smaller inputs, but not here. Here, we need to use an algorithm called as Newton-Raphson square root method. Okay. So, maybe you would have known this. I'm not sure because this is not an algorithm which is commonly used. Okay. So, the algorithm is Newton-Raphson square root method. How does this algorithm work? Let me explain first, then we'll move into the coding part. Alright. Okay. So let us take the same number 17. Number is equal to 17. And I want my precision of 3 digits 0.001. Why am I writing it as 0.001? I am indicating I need 3-digit precision. Okay. So I'm just indicating I need 3-digit precision. Alright. So first we are going to calculate approximate value. From the approximate value, we'll calculate the actual root value. Okay. So just listen as we proceed with 2 or 3 steps. You'll get comfortable with the algorithm. First, approximate root. I'm going to initialize approximate root as 17. Okay. First time initialize approximate root as 17. Now to calculate original root value, your formula is approximate plus number by approximate whole divided by 2. Okay. Let me show you the entire formula. Remember the formula, this is the efficient technique. Okay. The approximate value, initially approximate value is 17. Okay. So to calculate the root, what we have to do is use this formula. Substitute the values. Approx and num both are 17. So when you substitute 17 plus 17 by 17 divided by 2, which is nothing but 17 plus 1 divided by 2, so 18 by 2, which is 9. 18 by 2, which is 9. Similar to binary search, I assign root as 9. Okay. Now you know the root value is 9. You are going to calculate difference between approx and root. Subtract these two values. Okay. I'll just recollect the steps quickly. Approx is initialized as 17. Apply the formula. Calculate root value. Find their difference. 17 minus 9, answer is 8. 17 minus 9, answer is 8. Okay. So here this value is less than the precision. My aim is I will proceed until I reach 0.001. Okay. That is the algorithm. Yes. Proceed until this precision is reached. Okay. So this value is greater than precision. Sorry. This value is greater than precision. So still I haven't reached the precision. So next time take this 9 and give it as approx value. First time num value was given. Next time root value will be given. Okay. Substitute here and calculate. Your answer will be 5.444. I'm considering 3 digits only. Even though it goes for multiple digits, I'm considering 3 digits only. Okay. So our answer will be 5.444. Even now, the difference will be greater than precision. Even now, the difference will be greater than precision for these set of values. When the difference is more than precision, what should you do? Give this 5.444 to approx and calculate new value. When you calculate, new value will be 4.283. Okay, so what is going to be the difference? The difference will be, okay, so the difference is going to be 5.444 minus 4.283. So answer is 1.161, but precision is 0.001. Still the answer is more than precision. Still the difference is more than precision. Continue. 4.283, other value will be 4.126. Same thing guys, assign the value here, find the difference. Okay, so 4.283 minus 4.126, 0.157. Even now the difference is more than precision. Yes, difference is more than precision. So again give 4.126 here. Calculate the new set of values. Your new value will be 4.123. Difference is 0.003. Difference is 0.003. Continue. Still this is greater than 0.001. Right. The obtained value is greater than precision. Okay, I'll have it here. Yes. The difference is more than precision. Since the difference is more than precision, continue 4.123. Now your answer will be 4.123 itself. So difference is 0. 0 is less than precision. Correct? 0 is less than 0.001. So stop. I hope the algorithm is clear. Initialize, calculate the formula. Then move the values, calculate, move the value, calculate. Repeat this process. When will you stop this process? When the difference becomes less than precision. Okay, or equal to also. If you reach that exact precision also, you can stop the process. Okay, so when the difference is, we can have it as less than itself. That will be more accurate. Alright. So when the difference is less than precision, if you haven't reached that precision, continue this process. Once your difference becomes less than the precision, you can stop the process. So if you look at it, we required only 5 steps. With just 5 steps, I have the accurate value. I think you can understand the difference now. Last time we needed 4123 steps. This time execution is only for 5 steps. This algorithm is what we call as Newton-Raphson square root method. Okay. So quick implementation of this. Copy and paste. So let us say your input is a number. You are going to directly return a double value. Okay. For higher precision, I'm using double instead of float. Yes. Okay. So I need approximate value and I need the root value. Okay. So as I told you already, initialize approximate as num value. Initialize approximate as num value. Now also have a variable named as precision. I need 3 digits of precision. So 0.001. Okay. So what is the formula I said? Root is equal to approx plus number by approx divided by 2. This is the root value. Now we are supposed to check whether the difference, absolute difference, don't take the negative value because sometimes root value will be greater and approx value will be lesser, right? So to avoid those confusions, take absolute difference. absolute difference of root minus approx. When it becomes less than precision, stop the process. Yes, as I said here, when your difference becomes less than the precision value, stop the process. Until it becomes lesser, continue the process. Okay. So once it becomes lesser, stop. Otherwise, what should you do? Otherwise, take the calculated value, give it to approx. Okay. Take the calculated value and give it to approx. So root is the calculated value, assign it to approx. Clear? This is the execution part. That's it. These steps has to be repeated again and again. So while of 1. Okay. Get the root. See whether the difference is less than precision. If so, stop. Otherwise, reassign the values and continue with the same operation. Yes. So finally, whatever is obtained as root value, return that root value. This is the simplest process for calculating square root of a number. Okay. So I have asked for 3-digit precision, which is why I'm going to use 0.3 LF. Yes. One problem with this method is, guys, we are using absolute function here. Right. First problem is absolute will work only with integer values. To work with float and double values, you should use F absolute. Floating values absolute. Okay. Just ABS will work only with integers. To work with float values, you should use F ABS. Okay. First, take a look at the output. Yes, we get the output as 4.123, which means program is working perfectly fine, right? But to implement this program, I have used F absolute. To implement F absolute, once again we will need math.h, right? Absolute, F absolute, everything is defined in math.h. We moved into this method because we did not want to use math.h. So, instead of using F absolute, directly add the condition. What is that? You need positive values only. So check whether root minus approx is greater than 0. If it is a positive value, compare this with precision. Okay. If it is a positive value, compare this value with precision. Otherwise, compare approx minus root with precision. That is the meaning of absolute, right? Positive value should be compared with precision. Okay. So, I'm going to check whether root minus approx is positive. If this value is positive, compare it with precision. Otherwise, compare approx minus root with precision. In both the cases, break. Okay. So, I have removed the F absolute function and I have used normal if else condition. Yes. Even now, our output will be exactly same. Hope I made it clear. Alright. So we have almost reached the end of the problem, but ensure you understood this square root algorithm. So I'm going to copy this square root algorithm and use it in our program. For us, input will be a double value and we are supposed to work with 11 decimal places. So this is already 3 places, right? So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. So I have 10 zeros here. 10 zeros and 1 means 11 digit precision. So same program but optimized version. Alright. So in this case, we need not use math.h header file, but also program will be efficient. Okay. So here, instead of using sqrt function, use square root function. No longer use sqrt, use square root. Here also square root. And yes, in one more place we are using sqrt, use square root. So even in the scenarios where you can't add any header files, you can't use a math.h or stdlib.h, you can still solve the problem. This has occurred in many scenarios, which is why I'm telling you the square root algorithm. Okay, so when you do the square root algorithm, don't go for a naive algorithm. Understand this concept. Okay, use a formula and keep repeating until difference is less than precision. That is the only rule here. I think it is very simple. Anyway, try it out once, only then it will be easier for you. Alright. So no other changes, I guess. Let me compile this. Okay, so what is missing here? Square root, spelling mistake. Where? Square, yes, here. Square root, RE. Compile. Yes, sample cases are passed. Same output, but instead of SQRT, we are using our own method here. Okay. So now let me submit it. Take a look at the output. Time limit. It shows time limit exceeded because this will work for all cases except when number is 0. Because think about it, if number is 0, I can't apply the formula, right? 0 divided by 0 is invalid. That is not a valid formula. So when number is 0, don't go into the looping part, directly return 0. Okay. So once we change that, the problem is done. Submit. Okay. So that's it. We have completed. As I told you already, guys, here the important part is calculation and everything is easy. You just need to apply the formula here. But when the problem is as easy as this, automatically there will be a twist somewhere else. And in this scenario, we will be having a twist in the square root part only. Alright. Square root should be implemented by you. Don't use sqrt function. Most of the cases this will happen. So don't go with naive method of finding square root. Use a optimized method for finding the square root. Alright. So I hope I made it clear. Thank you.